My nephew casually told my daughter, "Mom said I'll get your room when we finally kick you out." When my daughter asked if we were really losing the house, I made it crystal clear whose name was on the deed. My daughter's fork stopped halfway to her mouth when my nephew said it loud and casual over the meatloaf. "Aunt Megan said I can have your room when we finally kick your mom out." He took a gulp of milk and kept chewing. His little sister giggled. The table went weirdly quiet, like the AC had clicked off. Chairs squeaked. Someone's bracelet tapped the glass. Megan smirked at her plate like she'd personally won Thanksgiving. Rachel's cheeks went blotchy. She looked down at her peas. Then she did what she always did when she was afraid of being rude. She leaned closer to me so only I could hear. "Are we getting kicked out, Mom?" My hands shook under the table. I pressed my napkin flat, counting the seams. My throat felt thick. This was my dining room, my plates, my grocery list on the fridge behind me, with oranges foil cat litter. Their casserole dishes sat on my counter. Their jackets hung on my hooks. The bedroom in question had a teal bookshelf and a paper chain Rachel had made out of old language worksheets. Her name was on that door in glitter letters. I heard Megan say, "They know we're just joking," to our mother not looking at me. Mom gave a tiny shrug. My brother chuckled like it was all so silly. Everyone waited to see my face. I smiled at Rachel like it was any other Tuesday. "No baby," I said, steady. Then I looked over at my mother and didn't raise my voice. "Actually ask Grandma whose name is on this house." Mom's face changed first. Her lips pulled in, her eyes flicked to my front door, then back to me. A beat passed. You could hear the refrigerator hum. Rachel peeked up at me. I tucked a curl behind her ear and kept serving green beans like I wasn't holding my breath. Megan's kids lost interest and started arguing about fries, but the adults kept their eyes on me like I'd put wire on the table between the salt and the butter. I should have known that moment was the whole house of cards slipping. Well, now a few words about me. I'm Cecile Sanders, 36, Atlanta, Georgia. I make a living teaching foreign languages. It started as tutoring at my kitchen table and turned into a YouTube channel and an Instagram page. My shorts about how to roll your R's and not sound like a robot have 200,000 subscribers on good weeks, 90,000 on IG. I sell little $29 PDF guides and a $199 pronunciation course that keeps my lights on. I film in my spare bedroom with a ring light and a cheap mic that works better than it should. It's not fancy, but it's ours. I'm a single mom to Rachel, 9 years old, who hoards library receipts like they're autographs. 2 years ago, after my divorce, I moved into the bungalow my grandparents left to my mom. The plan, according to her, was temporary, baby. Help me fix it up, keep it in the family. I was just grateful I didn't have to sign a lease in that moment. The roof leaked, the AC coughed like a smoker, and the kitchen sink rattled when you used the garbage disposal. I put my YouTube money and every tutoring dollar I could into it. A new roof was $9,800, HVAC $6,400, plumbing $3,100. I painted cabinets with Rachel's handprints on old t-shirts. Mom said, "You have such a gift," and then suggested we make a family fun checking account for house expenses. We put both our names on it for simplicity. And I set up a $1,200 monthly transfer on autopay so the mortgage, taxes, and insurance would hit without drama. We drew it up properly. I bought the place from her for $25,000, recorded the deed, paid the transfer tax, filed the homestead exemption in my name. Mom was at the closing. She joked with the title agent about keeping it in the family while I signed. She kept a key and never stopped calling it my mama's house. My family always treated me like the reliable one, the adult wallet. I covered Mom's power bill in August when the air felt like soup. $186 sat on autopay for a year. I gave Megan $2,500 for her minivan down payment so the boys wouldn't miss soccer. I paid my brother's rent 3 months during the pandemic, $1,200 each, with a pay me back when you can. I meant, and he heard as, "Don't worry about it." I added everyone to my phone plan because it cost me less than their late fees. 5 lines, $219 a month, and a constant, "Can you bump up my data text on the 23rd? It didn't make me a saint. It made me tired. They tolerated my work because it funded what they needed. Mom would clap at my videos if a brand sent me a tea sampler, then roll her eyes and call them your little lessons behind my back. At Christmas, she told my aunt, loud enough for me to hear, Cecile's YouTube is actually paying real bills. Like she hadn't handed me her gas bill 2 days earlier. Rachel was never treated like the other grandkids. She's adopted. My family never said something you could stick a lawyer on, but it came out sideways in the little cuts. Megan planned Cousin's Day at the trampoline park and forgot to add Rachel to the group text. Then posted pictures with the caption, "All my babies." Mom ordered matching monogram jackets for the grandkids one year and somehow didn't ask me Rachel's size. At Thanksgiving, there were labeled place cards for 5 kids, and Rachel penciled in on a folded napkin like a thought after the fact. Once Mom took the grandkids' photo for her mantle and asked Rachel to take it. "You're so good with cameras," she said like it was a compliment. I stood there holding paper plates and said nothing because I was still making a produce aisle do 3 meals a day. When I pushed back even a little, they punished quietly. Last month, Megan asked me to put the $4,000 deposit down for her kitchen remodel because the contractor needs to book us now. She swore she would pay me with her tax refund. I did it because I pictured all of us finally having holidays without balancing hot pans on folding chairs in her cramped galley. Then her refund went to car stuff, and she asked me to cover the second payment too. I told her I needed to look at my numbers first. Things got frosty that week. Rachel came home from Grandma's with a dollar store puzzle, while the boys got new game controllers from Grandma and me. Mom said, well, their dad pitched in, and looked at me like I should take the hint. So when my nephew said he'd be taking Rachel's room when they kicked me out, it wasn't a one-off rude kid. It was the whole pattern out loud. I paid for the roof they ate under, and still none of this was mine. Rachel wasn't theirs either, not when it counted. We finished dinner. I loaded plates like I wasn't shaking. I packed leftovers into my own containers and labeled them with dates because I always did. Megan laughed with Mom in the doorway about planning for Christmas. Now, the kitchen will be done. My brother dug through my freezer without asking and came up with ice cream like he'd found gold on a beach. Rachel played with the cat in the hall. She kept flicking her eyes at me, checking. I smiled at her again, the same calm tone I used when she asked if thunder could break windows. After everyone left, I stood in the empty dining room and stared at the dent in the table where I dropped a can 2 weeks after we moved in. My chest ached. That question from my daughter wouldn't unhook. Are we getting kicked out? I let the dishwasher run. I took off my sweater and hung it on the chair like it had weight I could set down. Then I did what I should have done a year ago. I opened my laptop at the counter. The cat jumped up and sat like a fluffy paperweight. I logged into my Amex and scrolled to authorized users. Megan Mom, the little plastic cards I'd handed them last summer for emergencies, felt like I'd cut my own seatbelt. I clicked remove. It asked, "Are you sure?" Yes. The cards deactivated with a soft ordinary click. No fireworks, no confetti, just a remove tag. I went to my bank. The family fund checking account sat there with $6,327.43 because I had overestimated the spring property tax. I'd added Megan as view only last year when she said she wanted to help me reconcile it. Funny timing, I clicked change account ownership. It gave me a form. I e-signed. Then I set the monthly $1,200 transfer to cancel future payments. It popped up a confirmation screen with a green check mark. I took a screenshot and put it in a folder called Boundaries. It felt petty. It felt necessary. I updated my mortgage portal to pay taxes and insurance from my escrow, not that shared account. I opened the county site and double-checked the deed. My name, my Inc. homestead exemption filed 18 months ago. I printed a fresh copy and slid it into a sheet protector like a child with a certificate. I put it on the fridge under Rachel's magnet that says, "You did great," from the dentist. Next was the contractor. I found the email thread about Megan's kitchen. Subject line, deposit received. I scrolled past the photos and the line where I'd given them my card for the second draw scheduled May 1st. My hands hovered. I typed, "Hi, this is Cecil Sanders. Please remove my card from the Williams job. I am not authorizing the second payment. They can contact me if needed. Best C." I hit send. A read receipt popped up. 2 minutes later, a reply. Understood. Card removed. I exhaled like I'd been underwater. I logged into my phone carrier. 5 lines. Mine and Rachel's mom's, Megan's my brother's. Every month, like clockwork, I paid it the minute my AdSense cleared. I scrolled to manage lines. I typed a calm note I could paste later because I knew the blowback would be loud. Final date to port numbers. May 15th. After that, lines suspended. I copied the confirmation email into Boundaries too. Then I booked a locksmith for the morning 9 a.m. Change all exterior locks. Add a deadbolt to the back door that sticks. The guy on the phone said, "You want a keypad?" I said yes, and gave a 4-digit number that wasn't my mother's birthday. I texted 2 people, first my mother. Effective today, I'm removing you from my credit card and from the house account. This is my home and not shared property. Please plan to pick up any boxes you've stored in the garage by June 1st. I will not be answering late-night calls. We can schedule a time to talk next week. Then Megan, I am not paying the second installment on your kitchen. Contractor has removed my card. The family phone plan will end May 15th. Please port your number by then. Please don't involve the kids. I put my phone face down. It buzzed again, then kept buzzing. I washed the counters with hot water. I breathed with it. In, out. I went to tuck Rachel in. She'd stacked her stuffed animals like they were protecting each other. "Are we in trouble?" she whispered. "No." I pulled the blankets to her chin. "We're in our house and we're okay. Even if they're mad. Even if they're mad." I kissed her hair. It smelled like chlorine from swim practice and strawberry shampoo. The last thing she said before she fell asleep was, "Can we paint my room the blue from your video where you said azul?" "We can." Downstairs, my phone lit up with my mother's name over and over. I muted it. I opened my editing software and trimmed a pronunciation clip because even moms with earthquake hearts still have Tuesday posts to schedule. The ring light reflected in the window like a tiny full moon. The cat purred at my ankle and didn't care about any of it, which helped more than it should have. By morning, my text previews looked like somebody had shaken a hornet's nest into my inbox. 29 missed calls. A wall of "call me now" from Mom. A thread of "wow dramatic much" from Megan. A Facebook screenshot from my cousin of a post that said, "Some people forget who helped them when they were filming cute little videos." There was a voicemail from my brother that started nice and ended with him saying he was disappointed, like he was my principal. The locksmith showed at 9 o'clock on the dot in a truck with a cartoon key on the side. He whistled while he worked. I made him coffee in a chipped mug. When he left, the back door latched like it was supposed to for the first time since we moved in. I texted Aunt Dee the new code because she's the one who waters my plants when we leave for a weekend. She wrote back, "Proud of you, baby. Saw Rachel's face last night. Not okay." At 10 o'clock, Mom banged on the front door. Her old key didn't work. The doorbell cam notified my phone. Person at the door. I glanced, saw her standing there with her purse like we were going to brunch, and let it go to voicemail. She knocked again, then harder. I cracked the window and said, "We can schedule a time to talk. Not today. You're making me look like a fool," she said, voice sharp, like the neighbors were listening. "We were joking. You can't cut off your family because of a joke." I kept my tone level. "I'm not your backup bank mom. I'm Rachel's mom. This is our home and not shared property. Please plan to pick up your boxes by June 1st. Her mouth flattened. "Megan's boys don't understand why your aunt hates them." "I don't hate anyone," I said. "Please don't involve the kids." I closed the window. It felt childish and also like the most adult thing I'd done all year. Megan called 11 times, then texted a paragraph about how the contractor had put her on hold. "And how do I expect family dinners at my place if my kitchen is torn up?" I typed back. "I won't fund a family my kid isn't part of. Please stop asking." She wrote, "Don't make this about Rachel." I put a heart on it because I was done explaining. By noon, I'd gotten 3 DMs from people I barely talked to in high school asking if I was okay. And one quiet message from my cousin Jalen. "If you need me to come over when they show up again, say the word." I wrote back, "We're okay. Thank you." He sent a thumbs up and a photo of his dog in sunglasses, which made Rachel laugh so hard, milk came out her nose at lunch. I posted a video in the afternoon, a 15-second tip about the difference between pour and paw. While it uploaded, my phone lit with a string of "wow" and "you're cold," and "we never asked," and "after all we've done" from my brother. I didn't engage. I folded towels. I set 2 aside that were threadbare and made a note to replace them when I could. Practical things felt like sandbags around my house. Mom left in. Then I went to the backyard with Rachel. We sat on the steps with popsicles and watched the cat chase a moth. It was 10 degrees cooler after the sun went behind the trees. The phone vibrated on the railing. Electric. The only person I opened the door for that week was Aunt Dee. She brought a lasagna and a paper bag with a new shower curtain because she said my old one looked tired. She hugged Rachel like she was the only kid in the world. She looked at me and said, "They'll call you mean because you told them no." Her eyes were wet. "Keep telling them no." I did. When the family phone plan date hit, I sent one last reminder. "Lines will end at 5 p.m. today." They sent back strings of skull emojis and "this is abuse." At 5, I clicked suspend. The bill went down by $140, and the house got quieter in some way that had nothing to do with ringers. The thing about calm boundaries is they're boring in the middle. You make rice, you edit your videos, you explain to your kid that grown-ups sometimes act like kids, and it's not their job to fix it. You check the front camera when a car slows and decide not to move. I slept better the night I saw my mother try the code sigh and walk back to her car. Not great, but better. We started a new ritual on Sundays. Rachel called it spaghetti night, like it was a show on TV. I browned garlic in my dented Dutch oven and let the sauce bubble while she set the table with the mismatched plates I loved. I put 2 extra chairs at the end every time empty. Not as a stunt, just as a reminder we had space if anybody showed up kind. Aunt Dee and Jalen came the first week without asking if it was okay. They brought a bagged salad and a carton of supermarket cannoli. Jalen's girlfriend taught Rachel how to twist noodles onto her fork against a spoon like a little pro. After dinner, Rachel gave them a tour of her room. The teal bookshelf, the paper chain, the new paint swatch taped to the wall. She'd picked the color from one of my videos, azul like the ocean. We painted it the next weekend, just the one wall, and laughed when the cat batted the paint roller like it was prey. We wiped up the splatters. It looked good, like a place you plan to be. I put the homestead exemption paper back in the file, but kept the deed copy in the drawer by the stove, where I keep takeout menus and rubber bands. Not to wave around, just to touch with my thumb sometimes when I was waiting for water to boil. Proof. Not for them, for me. Megan didn't text for a while. Mom sent the occasional test balloon of forwarded joke. How's Rachel, with no apology wrapped around it? I answered only the questions about my daughter. Short, civil. If they asked for money, I said, I'm not your bank, and left it there. If they said, we miss family dinners, I said, so do we. Family means Rachel too. On the third spaghetti night, Rachel drew a picture and taped it on the fridge with a cat magnet. It was a little house with 2 smiling stick people and a lopsided lemon tree next to the porch. Mom Rachel's house. She'd written in careful letters, spacing the words like she did on her spelling tests. We planted an actual lemon tree in the side yard the next day. A skinny thing from the nursery with a tag that said Meyer. We dug with a borrowed shovel. The dirt smelled like rain. Rachel pressed the soil with her hands and said, "Will it stay?" "Yeah," I said. "It will." I didn't feel triumphant. I felt like somebody who had finally heard her kid ask if they were safe and answered with something real. The phone still lit up sometimes with old patterns and new words. I still made rice and edited videos and paid the mortgage on the first. The house didn't creak any less, but it creaked like it was settling around us, not warning us. When Rachel fell asleep that night, she didn't ask me to check the door twice. I checked anyway just once and set the deadbolt with a quiet click. Until then, I kept it simple. No yelling, no speeches, just I won't fund a family my kid isn't part of. And a blue wall that dried the exact shade Rachel wanted, and a lemon tree that in time would give us fruit right there in our yard. To sum up, one might say family is just a password. Some people use to skip the checkout line. Cecile didn't cut off her family. She stopped subsidizing people who scheduled her daughter out of the cousin photos but into the mortgage payments. There's a special kind of audacity in eating someone's meatloaf, sleeping under their roof, maxing their card, then acting wounded when the card stops working. Boundaries aren't cruelty, they're just receipts finally handed back.